Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we continue our story, so let's get started. The cold air hit me like a slap, but it did little to clear the suffocating weight of the laughter that still rang in my ears. Outside, the sound was even more overwhelming, as if the entire forest was laughing at us. I turned toward the tree, expecting to see Ryan's body lying where we had last seen it, but it was gone. "Where is he?" Jess asked, her voice trembling. She pointed to the spot where Ryan had been, now just an empty patch of ground. "He was right there," Ike said, his tone disbelieving. "I saw him. We all saw him." Mia took a shaky step closer to the tree, her eyes scanning the area. "Ryan," she called out softly, her voice swallowed by the cacophony of laughter. "Don't," I warned, grabbing her arm. "Stay close." We huddled together, our breaths visible in the frigid air. The forest seemed alive with shadows, shifting and twisting in the dim light of the headlights. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of the trees felt like it could be him, or worse, that thing. "What do we do?" Jess whispered, her voice barely audible over the laughter. "We get back in the car," Eric said firmly. "We locked the doors and we waited out whatever this is. It can't last forever." None of us argued. We retreated to the car as quickly as we could, locking the doors behind us. The laughter persisted, but inside the car it was slightly muffled. Still, it was enough to set my nerves on edge. Each peal of laughter a dagger to my sanity. "He was right there," Jess muttered, rocking slightly in her seat. "He was right there, and now he's gone." Eric didn't respond. He gripped the steering wheel tightly, his knuckles white, his jaw clenched. Mia stared out the window, her hands pressed against the glass as if trying to see into the darkness. And me, I just sat there staring straight ahead, my mind racing with thoughts I couldn't begin to articulate. The laughter still echoed in my ears, but now it was joined by a new sound, the faint rustling of something moving outside the car. None of us spoke, none of us dared to move. The oppressive silence after the laughter faded was somehow worse. It left us all on edge, as if the sound had been the only thing keeping something worse at bay. Jess hugged her knees to her chest in the back seat, her eyes fixed on the window. Mia sat stiffly beside her, her hand gripping the edge of the seat so tightly her knuckles were white. Eric hadn't moved from his position at the wheel, though his hands now rested limply in his lap. "We need to call someone," Mia whispered, her voice barely audible. Eric nodded without looking at her. "I'll call the police," he fumbled with his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed. When he spoke, his voice was firm but strained. "Hello, yes, we need help. We're on a forest road near the old campsite off Route 19. One of our friends is missing and we're stranded. There's something out here. Please send someone quickly." The dispatcher's voice was calm, asking for details. Eric answered as best as he could, his gaze darting nervously between the dead engine and the darkness outside. When he hung up, he let out a shaky breath. "They're sending someone. We just have to wait." Jess let out a bitter laugh, though it lacked any humor. "Wait for what?" "For that thing to come back for help," I said, though the word felt hollow. Eric looked back at us, his eyes dark with exhaustion. "We stay in the car. We keep the doors locked. Whatever this is, it's safer here than out there." "And what do we tell them when they get here?" Jess asked, her voice rising slightly. "Do we tell them about Ryan, about that thing they're going to think we're crazy?" "We tell them the truth," Mia said firmly. "All of it. Let them think we're crazy. At least we'll be out of here." Jess shook her head but didn't argue further. The tension in the car was thick enough to choke on. None of us wanted to admit it, but the thought of seeing Ryan's body again, or worse, not seeing it at all, was gnawing at us. "What do you think happened to him?" I asked softly, breaking the heavy silence. No one answered at first. Then Eric said, "I don't know. Maybe he got up and walked away." "Walked away?" Jess's voice cracked. "After lying there like that with that grin on his face? Are you hearing yourself? Do you have a better explanation?" Eric snapped, his frustration bubbling over. "Because I'm all ears." Mia's gaze was distant, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it's like a trick, like that thing is trying to mess with us." Her words sent a chill down my spine. The thought had crossed my mind, but hearing it said aloud made it feel real, too real. Time dragged on. Each Second, stretching into eternity, every creak of the trees, every rustle of leaves outside felt like it could be the start of something terrible. The laughter was gone, but the oppressive weight of the night pressed down on us, suffocating and inescapable. Finally, after what felt like hours, a faint light appeared in the distance. Headlights. Relief washed over me so suddenly I felt tears prick my eyes. "They're here," I whispered. The police car pulled up slowly, its lights cutting through the darkness. Two officers stepped out, their flashlights sweeping the area. As they approached, one of them tapped on the driver's side window, and Eric rolled it down just enough to speak. "We got your call," the officer said, his tone professional but wary. "Are you all right?" "We're alive," Eric replied, "but something's out here and our friend, he was lying right there." He pointed toward the tree, "But now he's gone." The officers exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable in the dim light. "Stay in the car," one of them said. "We'll check it out." We watched as they moved toward the tree, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The night had grown eerily quiet, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. My stomach churned with dread as I realized we were no closer to understanding what was happening. The morning sun was just starting to rise when the police finally led us away from the scene. None of us had slept. We were all bundled into separate squad cars, the officers exchanging clipped conversations on their radios. I could hear Jess's soft crying from the car ahead of me. Eric sat in silence beside the officer driving, his face pale and unreadable. Mia was in the car behind, her hands visible through the rear windshield. As she clutched her knees to her chest. At the station they separated us into different rooms. Each of us was questioned individually. The officer sitting across from me seemed calm, his voice low and even as he started. "So can you walk me through what happened?" he asked, clicking his pen. I tried to explain about Ryan, about the laughter, about the thing we saw, but every time the words left my mouth they felt absurd, like a bad dream. I couldn't wake up from. The officer listened, his pen scratching against his notebook. When I mentioned the smiling figure he paused. "You're sure you saw this person?" I nodded. "We all did. It wasn't human. It couldn't have been." He exchanged a glance with the officer at the door. "And Ryan, you said you saw his body near the tree?" "Yes," I replied, my voice trembling. "He was there. We all saw him, but when we got out of the car he was gone." On the officer leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "We didn't find any signs of a body, but we did find this." He reached into a folder and pulled out a plastic evidence bag. Inside was Ryan's phone. My stomach dropped as I recognized that the screen was cracked, but it still displayed the last photo in his gallery. Ryan's grinning face, his eyes hollow and lifeless. "This was found near the tree," the officer continued. "Does this mean anything to you?" I swallowed hard, shaking my head. "I don't know." They didn't push further. After what felt like hours they let us go. We regrouped in the station's lobby, each of us looking more drained than the last. Jess had dark circles under her eyes and Mia's hands were still trembling. Eric leaned against the wall, staring at the floor as if it might offer answers. "They didn't find him," Jess said, her voice barely above a whisper. "How could they not find him?" "Because he's not there anymore," Mia replied, her voice breaking. "I don't know where he is, but he's not there." Eric finally looked up, his jaw tight. "We're going home, all of us separately. We're done with this." "Done with what?" Jess snapped. "Ryan's gone, Eric. He's gone, and we don't even know why." Eric's voice was low but firm. "I don't care. Whatever this is, I'm not letting it follow me. I suggest you all do the same." The room fell into a heavy silence. None of us wanted to admit it, but he was right. Whatever had happened, it wasn't over, and it wouldn't be. Not for a long time. We didn't say much after that. Eric left first, his shoulders rigid as he walked out the door. Mia went next, offering during a weak apologetic smile before disappearing into the morning light. Jess lingered for a moment, her gaze fixed on me. "Do you think he's still alive?" she asked. I hesitated. "I don't know." She nodded as if that was the answer she expected. Then she turned and left, leaving me alone in the station's empty lobby. Eventually I forced myself to leave As well, the streets were quiet as I made my way home, the morning sun doing little to dispel the oppressive weight that hung over me. My house, once a sanctuary, now felt cold and unfamiliar. As I stepped inside, I locked the door behind me and collapsed onto the couch, staring blankly at the ceiling. The events of the past day replayed in my mind, a relentless loop that refused to let me rest. I didn't know if I'd ever feel safe again, not really. Whatever we had encountered in those woods, it wasn't finished with us. I could feel it lingering just out of sight, waiting, and I had no idea what to do next. I stayed there for a long time, staring at the floor, trying to piece together everything that had happened, but the more I thought about it, the less sense it made. All I knew for sure was that we'd gone into those woods with 5 people and we'd come out with 4. Ryan's phone still had that photo, that awful, impossible photo. The events of the past few days were like a splinter in my mind. No matter how hard I tried to distract myself, the images of Ryan's face, the laughter, and that awful smile kept resurfacing. Needing to make sense of it, I decided to call a few friends I trusted outside our group. Maybe talking it out would help. I spoke to Sarah first, a childhood friend who had always been level-headed. As I stumbled through my story, I could feel her hesitance over the phone. "That's intense," Sarah said finally, her voice cautious. "Are you sure it's not just your mind playing tricks on you? Trauma can do that." "It's not trauma," I said, almost pleading. "We all saw it, Sarah, all of us, and now Ryan's gone." She didn't argue further, but her silence said enough. I ended the call shortly after, feeling more alone than before. My next attempt was with Mark, a friend from college. His reaction was more direct. "Sounds like you guys freaked yourselves out," he said bluntly. "You've been through something terrible, yeah, but don't let your imagination make it worse." I wanted to scream, to fork them to understand, but their reactions only reinforced how isolated I felt. Eventually I gave up and turned to the group chat. "Hey, how is everyone doing? Did you all make it home okay?" I stared at the screen, waiting for any sign of life. Minutes turned into hours. The only response came from Jess. "I'm okay, just trying to process everything." Her reply did little to ease my growing unease. No one else even read the message. Still, the silence was deafening. By the time dusk fell, exhaustion weighed heavily on me. At around 8 p.m., I decided to try sleeping. Maybe rest would quiet my thoughts, but sleep didn't come. I tossed and turned, my mind a relentless storm of questions and fears. Frustrated, I grabbed my phone to check the chat again. Jess's response was still the only activity. I tried calling Mia, no answer. Then Eric, nothing. Even Jess didn't pick up. A knock at the door made me jump. The sound was sharp, deliberate. I froze, staring at the door. Another knock followed, louder this time. "Hey, it's me," a voice called. It sounded exactly like Mia. Relief flooded me. I stumbled to the door, fumbling with the lock, and opened it, but when I did, it stopped cold. It wasn't Mia, it was Jess. "Jess," I said, my voice tinged with confusion. "I thought you can't sleep either." "Hush," she interrupted, her voice casual and light. It sounded normal, like the Jess I knew. Before I could say anything else, she stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. I turned to close the door, still trying to process what was happening. When I turned back around, Jess was standing in the middle of the room. Her back was to me, her arms hanging limply at her sides, her head tilted slightly as if she were listening to something I couldn't hear. "Jess," I called softly, my voice trembling. "What's wrong?" She didn't answer. Her stillness was unnerving, the air in the room thick with tension. Slowly she turned around. Her face was twisted into that same grotesque smile she had worn in the kitchen. It was too wide, too her eyes empty of recognition. My heart pounded as I stumbled back, every instinct screaming at me to run. My mind raced, pieces falling into place. The photo on Ryan's phone, the grin, the way Jess had acted in the kitchen. The realization hit me like a freight train. Her grin widened, stretching impossibly far. She didn't confirm or deny it, but her expression said enough. Panic surged through me as the horrifying truth dawned. The others were gone because of her, because of that thing. Eric, Mia, they hadn't just disappeared, they were dead. I couldn't explain how I knew, but I felt it. Deep in my bones, Jess or whatever was pretending to be her had killed them, and now it was my turn. The room seemed to darken as she took another step forward. My breath came in shallow gasps, my chest tightening with fear. Her grin consumed my vision, stretching wider and wider until it was all I could see, and then it all became clear to me. Thanks for watching. That's enough for today. See you tomorrow, and have a horrible day. Bye.